Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the D.G.S.R Sim Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione League. We start this season off here at Barcelona, and a couple of notes about the season. We have a mixed grid this time of both GT3 cars and GT4 cars, and also some of the weekends will have a slightly mixed up format. However, this race at Barcelona will have the same format as last season. So the racers have had their first practice and they've had their first qualifying session, which gives us the grid for this 20-minute race. They'll also have a second qualifying, which will be followed by a second 30-minute race. So let's have a look at the grid for race 1 here at Barcelona. In P1 we have D.G.S.R followed by Long in P2. In P3 we have Gabe followed by Morris in P4. P5 we have Wilder followed by ATM in P6. In P7 we have Degala followed by Lerone in P8. In P9 we have LKMP followed by Hale in P10. In P11 we have Joswick followed by McElligott in P12. In P13 we have Raiola, and in P14 we did have Daly, but he's starting from the pits. In P15 we have Barros, followed by Neil in P16. In P17 we have Wally, followed by Hillier in P18. In P19 we have QR, followed by Norton in P20. In P21 we have followed by Speaking English in P22. In P23 we have Walker. And then we start the GT4 cars. In P24 we have Mybomb, followed by Swan in P25. In P26 we have Askham, followed by Pichon in P27 and Stevens in P28. In P29 we have Engel, followed by Muir in P30. And finally in P31 we have DL. You join me then as our race leaders go around Catalunya and head for the start-finish straight here at Barcelona. This race is happening about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, around 33 degrees on the track. And quite a big grid, bigger than we've had before in Season 1. And there we have it across the line, and away we go here for race 1. Pretty good start for the top 3. Lots of shifting going on as we head into turn 1. Looks like Gabe is having a quick look up the inside of Long, but Long's having none of it. Ooh, bit of a contact there between, I think, Wilder and some others. Let's have a quick look at that. So, riding on board with Wilder, he's hit wide by, I'm not quite sure, ATM, I think. And then Joswick also has a bit of a problem. What happened there? Was that the same result, or is that because he was hit? So he has a bit of a touch with Norton, I think. Right on board with Raiola to see what happened there. So heading through turn 1. Yeah, so Joswick comes wide, hits Norton. Not quite sure why Joswick came wide there. Hit someone on the inside. Yeah, probably a bit of a racing incident there. Not quite sure what's going on, but that's going to cost him a lot of time as the pack heads through, including DL there. Let's have a look at how the race leaders are going. So D.G.S.R still in P1, followed pretty closely actually by Long and Morris, who's now up into P3, and Gabe in P4. Right on board with Gabe a little bit. Have a look what's happening here. Losing a little bit of time there to Morris as we head now through turn 9, I think, down to this straight and towards La Calle, I think it's pronounced. Yeah, sorry about my pronunciations. It's a Spanish track, and also a lot of new races as well, so apologies for any mispronunciations. Well, yeah, top 4 drivers going off to a flying start as Long goes quite wide there. Heading into the chicane, manages to keep the position. Morris and Gabe not quite close enough behind it. As the top 4 come around Catalunya for the first time and finishing lap 1. Let's have a quick look down the field then Let's jump back to P8, where we have quite a big pack forming behind Hale. Hale, followed by, at the moment, Lerone, it looks like. I'm not quite sure what's happened to D.G.S.R. So it's Hale, Lerone, and I think D.G.S.R behind them now, yeah, in P8. And then followed also quite closely by McElligott and Raiola. Quite a big pack there. Ooh, as D.G.S.R goes wide through there, which is going to give McElligott the opportunity to try and get him under braking going around this corner. It's a difficult corner to take on the outside, but he might try the old switcheroo going into this corner. He's going to think against it, not quite close enough. So we head through, I think that was turn 5 and 6. And then turn 7, TV3, is McElligott's trying not to get into the back of D.G.S.R. He'll be looking at maybe getting a good exit out of turn 9 to then attack on the straight. He looks like he's got a pretty good exit as he goes down on the... He's going to look around the outside. Not quite close enough. As I think, is that Hale and Lerone fighting ahead? Let's have a quick look at those few corners. They look like they had a bit of an interesting time. So they go side by side into turn 10. Lerone trying to give enough space to Hale, but unfortunately goes wide, as does D.G.S.R and McElligott actually. That's going to give Raiola the chance to catch up. Right, well, certainly interesting battle already forming in the sort of top 10. Let's jump back to LKMP, who is trying to catch up with, I think, Barros in P11. Right on board with him for a little while. As they head now into, I think, this will be lap 3 now. Amazing how quickly these races go sometimes. As we get to that lovely high-pitched sound from the Porsche engine. Barros goes a bit wide. Ooh, quite a bit of oversteer there, coming out of turn 1. That's going to cost him some time to Barros ahead. Let's jump back to the GT4 cars. So in P23 we have Maibon, who is close behind. I was going to say he's close behind Swan, but that doesn't look like a GT4 car to me ahead of him. That looks like it might be the car. Is that Hillier? Yeah, that's Hillier. So Hillier's just taking Maibon and I think Swan there, and coming up close behind Stevens. So Stevens heading up the GT4 cars, but it's relatively close between the three of them. Maibon catching up with Swan. As Swan goes very wide out of turn 5, and that's going to give Maibon the opportunity to catch up as we head into TV3. Tries not to oversteer as he comes out. Interesting to see what kind of line they take through turn 9, because it'll be very different than the GT3s. Looks like he loses a bit of time on Swan, but Swan does go a little bit wide, hitting the gravel a little bit there. Not going to be able to get him under braking here, but he is going to be able to catch right up to the back of him. As Stevens looks like he goes quite wide into turn 10, very easy to do, and that's going to bunch these top 3 right up as they head through the last sector. A notoriously difficult sector, this one, or at least it was for us. As they head now into the chicane, RACC. Bunched very close up. Lots of sausage bumps being hit as we head into Catalunya and the straight. They're quite evenly matched at the moment between these guys. Let's jump back then to Muir, who is trying to catch up with Engel in P24 and 25. As we head down the straight and into turn number 1. Oh, as he gets taken by a GT3 car, I think. Which GT3 car was that? Was that Daly? Yeah, it's Daly. Very, very bold. What was I looking through? Very bold through there. I think Askham is right on the tail of Muir here as... Was someone gone wide? Is that D.G.S.R? Yeah, D.G.S.R stopped on the side of the track. Not quite sure what's happening there. Norton trying to get through traffic of the GT4 cars. Followed closely by Askham and Muir at the moment. Askham trying to do his best to get round Muir while all this pandemonium is happening with the GT3 cars overtaking. And again, there's sort of P3, P4 and P5, sorry, P4, P5 and P6, sorry, of these GT3 cars very bunched up as Askham gets very close and personal with Muir as we head down the straight. Don't think he's quite got the exit that he wanted there to be able to take Muir on turn 10 as they head through this very tight corner. And away they go through the final sector. Let's jump then back up to the GT3 cars. Let's have a look at how our leader's doing. He's doing pretty well. He's managed to get 3 seconds between himself and Long. So he's leading the race and has been from the start. Long is in P2, a few seconds behind. He'll be looking to try and catch up as best as he can over the course of this race. In P3, we have Gabe, I think, who's managed to overtake Morris at some point in the last couple of laps. Morris is in P4, who's got ATM close for company in P5. A few seconds behind them, we've got Lerone just coming around the corner there into P6. Done very well to stay ahead of that pack. In P7, I think that might be McElligott actually, leading up that close pack of the midfield. We've got McElligott followed by Hale, followed by... Oh, as Hale just goes wide there, which I think gives Barros the opportunity to catch up and Royola to catch up as well. So very close racing here for P7 really. All the way down. Looks like McElligott's managing to just slip away from the pack. It'll be interesting to see what happens to those guys in the next few laps. Behind these guys, though, in P11, we have Wilder, who's a few seconds behind, but he's pretty much racing his own race at the moment. Got plenty of space. Because a few seconds behind him, we've got LKMP in the Porsche. He's being followed by about a second by Wally in the Aston. And I'm not quite sure how many seconds behind. 10 seconds behind him, we've got Joswick in P14. He had that big off at the start and has been catching up through the field, so he's done well to get back up to P14 from effectively last, I think it was. So having a consistent race. In P15, a couple of seconds behind, we have Speaking Leash. He's followed quite closely by about a second by in P16. P17, we have Hillier in the Nissan. The Ferrari, sorry. Don't know why I said Nissan. Who is being followed in P18 by Daly, who unfortunately started from the pits, but he's managed to negotiate his way through the GT4 cars and get himself back up into 18th place. Leading the GT4 cars, then we have Stevens. Oh, it was Stevens. It looks like, is that Mayborn that's overtaken? No, Swan that's overtaken him. So it's actually Swan that's in the lead of the GT4 cars. I'm not quite sure exactly what position they're in. I might just follow this race for a bit. It looks like they're racing quite closely together, so this is on board with Mybom. As Swan has a bit of oversteer. What happens to Stevens there? Does Stevens go wide as well? Let's jump in the outside camera. So Swan is... Oh, Swan I think gets touched by Stevens actually. Right on board with that. Yeah, just a love tap which sends Swan wide. Stevens being the gracious racer that he is, he waits. I'm not sure if that was deliberate or not, to be honest, because Swan's managed to stay in front of Maybom, but he's going to have him for company. As Stevens drops into effectively P3 of the GT4 cars. I think Norton has managed to get through them as well. So in P19 we have Norton now. In P20 we have Swan. In P21 I think we have Maybom. In P22 we have Stevens. Quite a few seconds behind them we've got Muir in P23 leading up the sort of 4th, 5th, and 6th GT4 cars of himself, Engel, and Askham, who are having a pretty close battle of their own for effectively P4. Behind them, we have the GT3 car of Walker in the Aston again. I'm not quite sure what's happened to him. He must have had a bit of a problematic race as he goes wide there through turn 10. In P27, we have the GT4 car of DL, who's being currently lapped by de Tollenaire as he stays clear of the racing line through turn 10. But he's being followed by Pichon, who's now in the pits, so he must have had a problem or a crash or something. In P29 we have QR, or again not quite sure how I'm pronouncing that one, who's down in P29, again must have had a problematic race. And finally Neil in P30, who's in the pits as well. So Pichon and Neil all having problems in this race. Let's have a look at the field then. Where shall we have a look? Let's jump back into that sort of P4. Oh, is My Bomb's now in the lead, I think, of the GT4s. Let's have a quick look whether we can find where that happened. Here we go. So it was the end of lap 6. So down into the tight corner, that is turn 10, sorry, and the following sort of chicane. I don't know whether you can call that a chicane or not. There you go. As that goes round then into turn 13, Europe car this turn, as he takes a slightly wider line through there, but he's right close and personal with Swan as he heads through the RACC chicane. Gets a slightly better, it's a much better exit from the chicane than Swan, and that is going to give him hopefully enough of a push to overtake going into turn 1. He's staying in that slipstream. Does he decide to go? Yep, so he's coming out wide into turn 1. He's going to try and get him under braking. He's definitely going to get him under braking and easily passed into P21, but P20, sorry, which is effectively first for the GT4 cars. Stevens looks like he's backed off a little bit from these leaders, so he'll be looking to catch back up with them. Let's jump back to Askham, Engel, and Muir. They've spaced out a little bit since the last time we looked at them. Looks like Muir is just about getting away from Engel and Askham, but still fairly close racing. Let's jump back. Let's have a look at Barros and Hale as they are within a second of each other. As they head into what is this, lap 8 now, so just about half a lap ahead of the GT4 cars that we were just looking at. So they're fighting for P10 as they head through turn 3 and then into Repsol corner, nicely branded there, easy to remember. Hale getting a slightly better exit as they head now through turn 5. It's an interesting corner, turn 5, because it's sometimes better to take that corner a little bit wider and get a better exit. As they head through TV3, turn 7 and turn 8. And then, as Hale gets a big snap of oversteer going through, that's going to give Barros the opportunity to come sailing past. Really important to take that corner with a good amount of speed, or there is going to lose a lot of time, and that's what's happened to Hale there. So Barros managing to get up into P10, but it looks like Hale's going to try and get back on the offensive and regain that position if he can. Oh, another snap of oversteer. Heading through turn 11 and 12. Takes a little bit wide through Europe Cup. Hits the sausage curve going through the RACC chicane. A little bit of oversteer again as he heads down through Catalonia. Looks like a big race happening in front of them though. So let's have a look at this and let's drop back a few seconds. Okay, so we have the car of Raiola and the car of Wilder overtaking, I think, the car of Pichon. Wilder goes down the middle. They go 3 wide down the straight. A little bit of touching between Viola and Wilder as they head through turn 1. Negotiating both GT4 cars of Pichon and DL. Viola's going to stay in front, but he's getting a lot of attention from Wilder behind him. Quite like to see that again, actually, from the perspective of Wilder, just to see how tight it was. So he gets a much better exit through that than Viola, but that's because Viola had to negotiate the GT4 cars. So they go 3 wide as they go across the start-finish line. Wilder trying to make sure he doesn't hit anyone. GT4 car getting out of the way. Head into braking, and Viola goes very deep into turn 1 to keep his position. Very good racing though, only a little bit of touching down the straight. But very good racing, very close racing. As Wilder takes a look up into turn 4, he's going to dive for it, but Viola's going to keep enough speed up. But that might cost him the exit to this corner, and so Wilder might want to attack on the next one. Not quite. All the way down to first for turn 5. A little bit of oversteer coming out. And we head down to TB3. Turn 7 and 8. Quite a fun little corner, that one. As we head up into turn 9. A little bit of a lift. And then on the power. And I think he's got a ever so slightly better exit than Viola there. As Viola takes the inside line to make sure he's defended against. But Wilder is certainly putting on the pressure here to try and gain P8. Ride on board until the next straight, and then we'll have another look at somewhere else in the pack. Ooh, bit of a janky move there through the chicane, and that's going to cost him a bit of time. Not quite sure what happened there. I think he just sort of oversteered through the first corner of the chicane, not giving him such a good exit. Right then, up into P5 then. Let's look at ATM, who's still behind Morris, so must have been applying a good amount of pressure throughout this whole race. It's actually quite surprising how I don't say how far ahead they are, but I've just got myself a bit turned around there. Right, as they head into TB3, I think ATM's just definitely got a better line through there than Morris. Not a better exit out of turn 9 though, which is the all important one. These guys are coming up on the GT4 car of Stevens, who's down in P22. So they're going to have to try and negotiate that. I would have thought they would wait for the straight, although Morris is going to go deep. Oh! Oh dear. So coming out of turn 13 then, Morris is sort of... You know what? Morris has sort of come quite close up behind Stevens. Stevens trying to give them space, has unfortunately oversteered and crashed into Morris. Morris, however, has made the most of it and cut the chicane, coming back on in still ahead of ATM. However, I think that might have given him a drive-through penalty. Or did he have that before? No, yeah. So unfortunately, in cutting that chicane, Morris has given himself a drive-through. It's a difficult one because although Stevens loses the car, I do think Morris probably should have given him a bit. Probably shouldn't have been diving. He didn't have the corner, and probably Stevens didn't need to give him that much space. But interesting. That's going to cost some time for Stevens, unfortunately, in the GT4 race. Although I think there's a fair gap between himself and Muir, and it's cost Morris a drive-through penalty. which is going to be good news for ATM because he can relax a little bit in the knowledge that Morris is either going to have to pit or take a penalty at the end of the race. Right, let's have a quick look. What's happening? Wilder has got Barros for company down into turn 1. Barros is just about going to come alongside as they head into turn 1. They go side by side. Barros is going to get a slightly better line, but Wilder is not giving up easily. But through turn 3 and 4, I think Barros is just about going to take it. Wilder taking a slightly different line to see if he might be able to go on the offensive through turn 4. Repsol. But it looks like Barros has made the move stick and is up into P9 as he and Viola come up on some GT4 traffic. Let's have a look at the GT4s actually. So, looks like Askham now is in what is effectively P4 for the GT4s. He's followed by Engel. There's a very messy corner there for everyone involved. So you've got the GT4 car of, I think, Barros. So let's have a look at this. Jump in first person, jump back. So Barros comes up through TB3. GT4 car's actually being held up by a different GT3 car. He takes Muir, gets stuck behind Engel, who's actually given the place to Raiola, and Raiola's off and overtaking Askham. Oh, as Wilder and Barros have a collision. Deary me, what's happening here? So Wilder then, while all of that was happening, Wilder was coming up behind Barros. He dives through the middle of Barros and Engel. And I think, what happens there? Yeah, Barros clearly doesn't realise Wilder's there and just drifts into him. Definitely a messy few corners for all involved. Both GT3 cars and GT4 cars. Weirdly, the GT4 cars were kept up by a GT3 car though, so... Oh, as Wilder hits Askham there as they come through turn 12. Yeah, Askham goes wide. Yeah, Wilder should give him a bit more space there. But there we go. And that's going to cost Askham a bit of time, and he's got Muir back for company. It's Hale's now looking to overtake Muir as they head into the straight. Hale will have an easy overtake. That's one of the things I definitely learned racing against GT4s is wait for the straight if you can. Like, it's going to be a lot better for everyone. Is that Morris is coming out of the pits? I think it is. What's happened there? Has he had a bit of an accident? Oh, that's for his drive-through. Okay, so he's coming out of the pits there after doing his drive-through, just overtaken by Engel there. And he's got Wally for company soon. So I think Morris is now, I would have said, down in P12, is that? If he's close to Wally, I'm not quite sure where he's positioned there. But that's good news for the guys at the top, in the top 10. So let's have a little rundown of the grid again. So in P1 we still have de Tollenau, followed by 4 seconds now by Long in P2. These guys have been basically driving by themselves for most of the race. Gabe in P3, also a couple of seconds behind Long, as Long goes over the sausage curb there through the chicane. ATM then 8 seconds behind, but up into P4 now because of Morris's drive-through. And 8 seconds behind him, we've got Toby Roan coming on behind Maybon, the GT4 car. As they head down the straight, he's going to easily overtake down the start-finish straight. Behind him in P6, McCalligan, also on the start-finish straight. He's also going to be able to get past a Maybom. I think Maybom might have lifted there to ensure that... oh, and that's the end of the race. So I think McCalligan's just come across the line. Yeah, that's the end. So let's have a quick look at the results then. There's a few cars, quite a few cars still to finish. A lot of the GT4 cars. So I think Maybom came across the line in P20 and effectively first of the GT4 cars. So the provisional results were P1 De Tollenaire, P2 Long, P3 Gabe, P4 ATM, P5 Larone, P6 McCalligan, P7 Raiola, P8 Barros, P9 Wilder, P10 Hale, P11 LKMP, P12 Morris, P13 Wally, P14 Joswick, P15 P16 Daly, P17 Hillier, P18 Speaking Leash, P19 Norton, P20 for the GT3s was Walker, P21 QR, and P30, but a DNF, Neil. For the GT4 cars, in P1 we had Maybom, P2 Swan, P3 Stevens, P4 Askham, P5 Engel, P6 Muir, P7 DL, and P8 Pichon. Right, thank you very much for watching this first race of the D.G.S.R Sim Racing Season 2 League. Make sure you check out the second race if you haven't already, and thank you very much for watching and listening.